People.
Waiting for the snap, the put down, the kick is up, and it is good! It is good! The Bills have won it in overtime! They win the division championship! And this place is bedlam! It is bedlam!
Thanks for tuning in to If the Walls Could Talk in Buffalo podcast on the Overreaction Sports Network powered by Believe. And now your hosts, former Director of Football Administration for the Buffalo Bills, Don Purdy, and former coaching assistant for the Buffalo Bills, Josh Cormier.
Welcome to If the Walls Could Talk in Buffalo. Don, how you doing?
Good to see you. Thank you, Joe Miller. Nice intro.
Yes. Thank you. All right, Don, opening drive time before we get into the rash of Bills injuries and kind of our take on it from a unique perspective of both being on the sideline and being in the front office and being in charge of the budget for a lot of the training staff and the workout room.
How do I make that interesting? I can make it very interesting.
Don, we're going to make it interesting. We're going to go into the weeds about it.
I'm going to do more interesting in the opening after, but go ahead.
All right, opening drive time. I'm going to give you a softball first. You got 45 seconds on Marv Levy. Go.
Oh, my gosh. Gratuitously, he wrote the foreword for my book. And
what's the name of your book?
Thunder Snow at Buffalo, The October Surprise Storm. And I'm pretty sure that is not even in the top 1,000 highlights of his life.
Is he is he one of the 5 greatest people you've ever met?
Yes.
Is he in the top 3? Family members not included.
Man,
family
Josh,
members not included.
3, like you're making me family members not included.
Right.
Professionally?
Yes.
Professionally, top 3.
There you go.
Yeah.
See, that was easy. Yeah. All right. Next up. Rob Ryan.
Josh, okay. You're cheating here because
I'm not cheating.
We've done a lot of shows here, and this is a story that you'd like to
45 seconds on Rob. You're down.
Yeah, he was filthy.
Filthy.
Yeah.
Okay. How so?
Yeah.
Every way.
The first time I ever met him, he assumed that the reason that I wasn't late, he was late when I met him. That I was, oh man, dude.
Come on.
Yeah, that I was just doing something totally unprofessional. Like,
oh, right. He walked in.
Right. You knew it. You knew when you brought up his name.
I totally forgot about that. That he thought you had your he had parts of yourself in your own hand, right?
It was bizarre.
This is the first time you've ever met the man.
Okay.
Is that the first time you ever met?
First time. First 5 minutes.
And you are a front office member here. You're not some lowly intern, whatever. You're the director of football administration at that point in time.
He was looking forward to meeting with me. He called me to come to his office, and then when I did, he was next door talking with a couple coaches that he had coached with, the fraternity. I don't know who it was, but
he asked if you. He asked,
what are you doing in here? I'm waiting for you. As a matter of fact, but
literally asked you if you were okay. Fill in the blanks. That's a good one. All right, third one. Demetrius Bell.
Demetrius Bell was a 7th round pick, offensive lineman, and I remember a preseason game. Wherever we were, we sat as a team in the room, and you know how that goes.
Yep.
And I sat there next to Paul Lancaster, and I looked at him. I'm like, oh my gosh, I am sitting across from a young Karl Malone.
Amazing.
And the resemblance was striking. And I had heard that he was Karl Malone's son.
Did he refer to himself in the third person?
No. And in fact, he wanted nothing to do with the association.
Okay.
Like people I was told that were close to him were like, don't bring that up.
Okay. That's good. You got the joke about third person, right? Because Karl Malone always talked about Karl Malone.
Okay. Is he the all-time NBA leading scorer? I think he is.
No, Kareem.
Who is?
Kareem. LeBron.
Oh, LeBron broke it. Okay,
LeBron, but he's third. He's like third or fourth. It's LeBron then Kareem.
There was a time when Karl Malone was the all-time NBA leading scorer.
Well, there you go. And he so he literally looked just like Karl Malone. Looked like his dad.
Like him. It was crazy. And as a 7th round pick, he started at right tackle for like a year, and then maybe you could look it up, but fans
Okay.
will know more than I will. But
Good deal. All right, thanks for the opening drive, sponsored by Dave. That's an amazing Rex Ryan story. We'll get into
Rob
that
Ryan,
more.
Rex
Rob
was
Ryan.
not like
Rob
that.
Ryan. Rob Ryan. We'll get
Rob-
into some more Rob Ryan another day.
No, we don't have to.
All right, Don. So the topic du jour of the week, obviously injuries. Matt Milano out till at least December.
Right.
Curtis Samuel with turf toe. Mitch Trubisky. The list goes on and on and on. And all of social media is kind of up in arms about it. And you called me and said maybe we should have a show about this and a topic. And let's get your take as a guy who is at One Bills Drive for 30 years. Has seen, more than his fair share of injuries. Just give me the overall vibe when a player like Milano goes down. What is it like in the building, whether it's during the season, training camp, mini camp, off season, whatever? What's it like in the building when a guy that caliber goes down?
I am totally ready to give you all of what I remember about this, but because you did the opening drive for me, I'm going to throw it back at you first.
All right.
I told you, be ready.
Yep.
Josh, you were in the film room. You were in the planning room with the coaching staff.
Yep.
Special teams. Okay.
Yep.
You're getting ready to play the Atlanta Falcons.
Sure.
And you on punt coverage and kickoff coverage are getting ready to cover Deion Sanders. This is
Sure.
hypothetical. Okay.
Clearly.
Now we had Steve Tasker on the show, and he
Yep.
admitted that the night before he hardly slept.
Right.
It was like, how does anyone do this?
Right.
Let's just say, for example, you're there at the ungodly hour of, and you're
Yep.
there filming, and you're looking at and the coaches come to you and like, so what do we do here? Well, here it is. He has no weaknesses. He's special.
Yep.
And you're sitting at lunch in the cafeteria, and someone comes up to you. Again, this is before the internet, but somebody finds out, hey, Deion Sanders is not going to be playing this week.
Sure.
How do you react? Now, your head coach is going to go to the media and be like, somebody's going to ask him that, and he's
Right.
going to, well, Deion's a special player, but
Yeah.
but they're all
Pure relief. Pure
relief. Thank
relief.
you for admitting that.
Oh, of course. And that's the thing sometimes. I can remember that game in '96 when Jim Kelly went down and Todd Collins came in against Dallas, on a 4:00 Sunday game, the Madden Summerall game. And,
Mhm.
the Bills ended up winning all the times where Frank came in for Jim. And, you're right. Like, I think as a player, as a coach, as a coach's assistant, if that guy is out for the other team, it is only it's in human nature, right? There has to be a
There you
deep
go.
breath. There has to be oh wow, that's a relief. He's no longer playing. Now I just need to prepare myself to play a normal human, an average player. So, and I think you could probably get maybe complacent. I wouldn't say overconfident, but at least complacent that, wow, this big challenge that we had is no longer in front of us.
Yes, we could do our kind of normal things, so to speak, and it's not like every time the guy touches the ball, he's a threat to go all the way,
Right.
like a special player like Deion would be.
Of course,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah. There's no other way to view it. What now? If putting the the shoe on the other foot here, as part of the organization that Deion, Matt Milano, Jim Kelly, Josh Allen, whoever plays for, what's the feeling in the building when that guy goes down on our side?
Well, I'm going to steal your word. It's devastating obviously for us. You're looking for any advantage that you could have, and when you find out that you're going to be missing one of your key pieces, you're just like, oh my gosh, who's going to step up? And I had a baseline of, and you did as a fan. I was already with the team, like you mentioned with Frank Reich, that in the Bills, primary Super Bowl years, when Jim Kelly went down in '89 for 3 games, Frank was able to win. It was 2. It might have been all 3. But you're thinking, if your backup quarterback can win you 2 out of 3 games,
Yeah.
that's the pace you need to sustain. you need to win 2 out of 3 games 5 times,
Right.
and if your backup quarterback can do that, and you find out that the offensive line stepped up, whatever that means, and you're thinking, okay, why don't they play that way all the time? It's kind of like,
Hello.
a little behind, but we're going to make up the time and get there a little faster. You're like, well, why couldn't you do that all the time? Well, but I have heard offensive linemen admit that, they give a little extra,
Sure.
as much as they can do to make sure that they're not going to be down to their third string quarterback.
Sure. Walk me through the mechanics of it. So when you were in the role that you were in,
Mm-hmm.
how does a guy like Milano gets injured, during practice, during a game? So the injury is identified by the trainers, right? The doctors, the staff. Typically, what would happen? Like does he go off site to the doctor? Like in a normal injury where you tweak your hamstring, tear your bicep, whatever else. Like,
Yep.
What are the mechanics of it from the team point of view? Let's say it happens in a game on Sunday at 1:00. What's the timeline from that to diagnosis to putting somebody on IR? Like all the mechanics of it.
Well, it's a little different because if it happens in practice, you don't have an MRI there. But with the game, there is something between an X-ray and an MRI that they can help determine, the severity of the injury. But
So they literally have a machine at the stadium that can do that, right?
yeah, they're going to make sure, if a guy if it's not weight bearing or if it's not torn, and he can go back out there, he will. But from a front office standpoint, when he can, a guy like Milano, he's got guaranteed money in his contract. And first of all, you think, oh my gosh, we lost that player that the team is counting on, being so important. Second of all, we don't have that cap space or money to find a replacement like him. First of all, he wouldn't be on the market anyway. You're
Right.
counting on people, players on your own staff, but there's going to be a workout the next day.
All right,
There's
let's
going to
back
be
up. Let's back
20
up for 1 second.
linebackers there the
Right.
next day. Yeah.
Let's back up for 1 second. He gets hurt during a game.
Mhm.
Okay. The game ends. You have a general idea of what the injury is. Okay. But then it's Sunday night. It's a home game. It's Sunday night. Everybody goes home. Where does the injured player go Monday morning? Do they go to the doctor? Do they go to the hospital? Let's say it's a torn bicep. What usually happens?
Yep. Well, they're evaluated by first of all, the doctors that would perform the surgery, if necessary, are already at the stadium.
Okay.
And if there are 4 doctors and they're all surgeons, or there's 1 internist and 3 doctors that are surgeons, if it's severe enough and they know what it is, the 1 doctor and the player, and someone has to drive them, will already go back to the hospital that night to perform surgery. I mean,
So you've seen surgeries. You've seen plenty of surgeries the night of the game.
Yep. Or at least the next morning at the latest, because every day counts, in terms of a return. And
so the doctors on the sideline. So the Bills have 3, 4, 5 doctors on call at the stadium. Do they all have like a specific specialty?
They're all orthopedic. But some might specialize in shoulders and elbows and hands, while the others are knees and ankles and lower body. But yeah, they'll make a decision like that night, like they're going to perform surgery and get this guy on the mend.
Okay, so he has surgery. Let's say he has surgery Sunday night.
Mhm.
You come into the office Monday morning. What are the mechanics that have to be done to put him on IR, to open up that cap space, or like what steps have to happen once a guy is deemed out for the year or out for a long period of time on IR?
Well, it's a great question, because we, as administrative staff, we don't talk to the doctors directly, but the trainers do. They are the intermediaries. They're talking to the doctors all the time, and they know the healing process. And the trainers will tell the front office, look, could be 3 to 4 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, or out for the season. And all that really matters, not all that matters. You care about the players so much. he's part of your organization.
Sure,
and
sure.
I'm not going to even say blah 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 because they really are.
I'll say
But-
it, blah blah blah.
But you know, you take that, you compartmentalize it, but what your job is to win games. So you have to find the best replacement for that player to win the next Sunday. And
So what happens? Let's say that Matt Milano is deemed out for the year, or player X is deemed out for the year by the trainers to, you, Jim Overdorf, whoever, the GM, whatever, and they say to you, "Hey Don, we're putting player X at 10 a.m. on Monday morning on IR."
Mhm.
Do you have to notify the league? Like,
Oh,
is it okay? So then, does the balance sheet on the salary cap change at all? Like, is there a button to press? Like what actually happens? I'm genuinely
well,
curious.
a player of Milano's caliber has earned a contract where he was probably guaranteed. His contract is guaranteed for skill and injury.
Okay.
The skill part rarely happens for a guy who just, I don't know. I'm hearing about Deshaun Watson, but that's another story. But that's going to be a messy situation. But if they're guaranteed for injury, it means they get their whole salary, even when they're hurt. Of course,
They can't be cut. They can't be cut when they're injured.
Cannot be cut, and they get their whole salary. And
what percentage of players? What percentage of players like are in that status around?
It's very small. It's maybe 5 or 6 guys in the team that earn that.
So a guy like Milano would obviously have bargained that into the contract at the
His
time.
his agent would have. Yeah,
it's a huge like bargaining chip, right?
It is. Yeah, his agent would have said, look, this guy made All Pro. That puts him in an elite class where he has earned the fact that his contract is guaranteed for skill or injury. So
when you say skill, obviously I think everybody listening can understand the injury part. What do you mean for skill or injury? What is the skill part?
It's even more of a rarity where somehow the guy gets on the field and he just doesn't have it anymore.
Is it like a Rick Ankiel, like he gets the yips?
Elaborate on that.
Well, like how like Rick Ankiel, Chuck Knockblock. Remember, he couldn't throw from second base.
That's right.
Anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Like is it to that degree where somebody just dropped off a cliff and just for whether it's psychological or physical, just cannot play anymore?
Yeah, that's a really good example, actually. Yeah, for some reason they're not injured, or they don't appear to be, or they're not, and it's verifiable. They just kind of lost it, and it's a very rare. I'm sitting here and I can't think of a player where that was applicable to, but I'm sure there were.
Okay.
And it's age. Age is usually what happens there.
Age gets the better of all of us, Don.
Yeah.
So all right. So let's this is really interesting to me. Hopefully everybody's enjoying listening. So there's 2 types of injuries. There's the Matt Milano type, and then there's the guy like Josh Stamer that we had on our show last week, a guy closer to the bottom of the roster who would not have the skill or injury guarantee in his contract. A guy like Milano, like, I hesitate to even use any current Bills to not jinx them to get injured.
Yeah,
so
okay.
we'll keep rolling with Milano. Let's say that Milano is deemed out for the year. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously his contract is guaranteed. What do you have to do then?
Well, he continues to get paid as if he had been playing the whole time.
Okay.
Like you said earlier, the league, you have to send an official announcement to the league that's it's signed electronically now, but by the general manager that we really mean this. This is true, or there's
okay.
We can't go back on it. We regret to inform you that he will not play again this year, and we acknowledge, as per his contract, that we owe him the full amount with the injury guarantee. So that amount hits the cap, and that cap room you no longer have. And this is where it gets really tough, for a GM. You have to put a player out there that can still help you win. There's going to be a drop off, obviously, but I was thinking before we did the show, Josh, that I think we can both come up with some examples of the devastating examples of games. There's one in particular that you've brought up before when you were there.
Tampa Bay.
In Tampa Bay, yeah.
We lost like everybody on defense. Yep.
High ankle sprains was Sam Cowart,
Keon Carpenter, and Pat Williams.
Oh my gosh!
On the same drive.
On the same drive, was it really?
Yep. Second quarter, we were up 7-3. I remember.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. Or even, you know what,
Clearly
last,
you do,
year,
yeah.
last year's playoff game when the Bills ran out of linebackers and had AJ Klein, trying to cover Travis Kelce. Like, you get to a point where you can't fill that spot. So when you're trying to fill that spot, so you send that letter, regret to inform you, the NFL,
It's an
Matt
email.
Milano's
Yep.
out, or email out for the year. What is the process then to bring in guys to try to fill that spot? You go to the pro personnel guy, say, hey, or who are your top 5? Let's get them all on a flight.
Go on. Oh yeah. At least 5, maybe 20, maybe 30. I mean, you're going to bring in guys
The Bills
now.
pay for the flights. They pay for everybody's flight.
Yeah. You pay for the flights. Well, it's not that cut and dry. You talk to the agents and say, hey, I know you have a linebacker that you're representing. We're doing a tryout. We'll pay for it or not. And is it worth it to send them? If a guy's been in the league before, the team will usually pay for it. They'll tell the agent, yeah, we'll cover that cost. So
this is Monday morning, right? So let's
say
this is Monday morning. When would you want the tryout to be? Tuesday morning?
Well, Tuesday, as you know, is the players' day off.
Yep.
So realistically, logistically, yeah, you could have a mini tryout Monday morning and a big one on Tuesday. But if, whoever the team selects is like I can still run east and west, north and south. He still looks like he's, we know mentally and that, he understands a playbook. We're going to sign him and he'll be at practice on Wednesday morning.
So do you ever remember reaching out to an agent like the night of a game, like 1:00 game, somebody's hurt? Did you ever reach out to an agent Sunday night?
That happened. Yeah. The team did that a lot. I wasn't necessarily, part of the reaching out, but I was aware that the player was going to come in and, there was a chance we could sign them. And, yeah.
So, okay. So now a player not of Milano's status gets injured and is out for the year.
Mm-hmm.
You're not guaranteed to pay him, right? You're not obligated to pay that person. Is that usually obviously it depends on how good the player is, but in training camp, if it's one of the 90 right now, and it's not a guy who is going to make the roster, it's just kind of an injury settlement and then goodbye, right? It's a much colder business, right?
It could be that, but there's a level above that where it's called an up down in their salary where they are, if they do get injured, they're guaranteed to earn 2/3 of their salary for the rest of the year, roughly.
Is that once you made the 53?
Yes, you have to have made the roster, the 53 for a game.
Let's say it's in the third. Let's say it's in the third preseason game. Let's say it happens this Saturday to a player.
Yeah.
Get out of luck.
Yeah. Yeah. Then their agent has to negotiate how many games they could have played had they made the roster. So like the easy example is a torn MCL in the knee. A doctor will say that, he should heal within 2 or 3 weeks, but an agent will say, oh no, that, he might heal enough to go up and down the stairs in his house, but not enough to play NFL football. That's a 5-week injury. And they usually, settle for somewhere in between that and he gets paid.
So you'd get the veteran or the rookie or the veteran minimum salary times 4 weeks minus whatever the settlement offer would be.
Very good. Yes.
Okay. That's interesting.
The down amount. Yes.
The down amount.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Who makes the determination whether it's a player that you want to kind of lowball and just injury settle or a guy you might want to keep around? Is that more coaching staff? Is that more personnel? Is that more front office?
That's a GM call, really. I mean, he has to talk with the coaching staff and hear from the agent. But it's mostly the coaching staff that said, yeah, this guy would have played for us. And so it's a crapshoot, but that's where a GM, they're at that point, they have spent 90%, 95% of their salary cap usually. And that last 5 or 10% needs to be held in reserve to sign players that replace injured players like Milano. So it's tough because you don't want to burn that too quickly.
Are there agents that are calling front offices every Monday with guys who are unsigned?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Who takes those calls?
Well, during my time, it was John Guy, who was
Okay.
VP of pro personnel. During your time, it would have been AJ Smith. And yeah, they spent a lot of time doing that, and
the agents are just trying to pitch, player X, player Y, player Z that are probably in great shape, and you always hear, oh, they're in the best shape of their life. They're ready to come in and help your team, right? So it's almost like a two-way system every Monday, right? It's the guy, you guys, the team might be reaching out for, A, a replacement linebacker because somebody's hurt, B, a replacement offensive lineman because this guy stinks. At the same time, agents are pushing guys who are on the other side of the roster bubble in the NFL, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Their job is to they don't make any money unless their clients, their players, are collecting a check on an NFL team, albeit as small as they are, which it's
in the
active.
NBA. In the NBA, there's a lot of you wouldn't call it collusion, but there's a lot of, hey, the best example is LeBron James and his son Bronny being picked by the Lakers. In the NFL, is there ever a situation where, hey, you know what, we're going to do Agent X a favor and take the 53rd guy on the roster who's one of his guys to keep him happy if he's also representing Josh Allen, or if he's representing Steph Diggs back in the day, or whatever? Does that ever happen?
I never saw it get to the point where they would use a precious roster spot, one of the 53, as a favor, but I did see where guys were drafted in the 7th round, were taken as an unrestricted free agent because of a relationship with an agent or a player. Yeah.
So if Drew Rosenhaus has his son Timmy Rosenhaus, and he's probably not going to make the squad, but you can have him as a preferred free agent into your camp, boy, that might help you in contract negotiations with, player X, player Y, and player Z down the road.
They remember that.
He's heard of that happening.
Absolutely, yeah. They'll say that. You're like, hey, listen, I won't forget this. I won't forget, and good or bad. If you screw a player, they'll say, I won't forget this either.
That's So do you remember? You don't have to name the player. Do you ever remember a time where you felt like a player really got screwed by the process when it comes to injuries?
I thought I saw players fail a physical, and that didn't necessarily have to be the end of their tenure with the team. They could have been rehabbed there, and they kind of just got shown the door really quick without really a chance. And by the same token, I saw guys that, because of their reputation in the league, stick around, having proven nothing. And wow, you're still here, but the reputation kept them around in a way that you're like, okay. But I mean, you never know till they get the field. I mean, Josh, you could think of examples too. I think you brought up the Dallas game earlier where
Todd Collins,
but was that the Manny Martin game?
Yes.
Okay. So what safety got hurt? Was it? I don't know if it was Henry Jones or Schultz. No, Schultz played in that game because we interviewed him, and he hit Herschel Walker, which we showed. So, but he got to play, and he had 3 interceptions, and they were like the difference. And I had never heard of the guy before that week. And Josh,
and you worked there.
Yeah, exactly. And Josh Stamer was saying, he was so honest. I to hear. He was heartbroken when Spikes went down, but he was like, by the same token, this is an opportunity for me and some other guys. So you felt like some guys. So what happens? I think some people on the outside might not realize, a guy like Matt Milano, when Trey White was out for the year, if a guy's out for the year, they might not stick around the team. They might not stick around Buffalo, right? How is that kind of negotiated or decided between the player, the agent, and the front office if a guy sticks around Buffalo to rehab or goes somewhere else? That's a great question, because the one stigma, or the worst injury I think is that ACL, because it's at least a half a year to a year. Usually, the season is gone, and you're even hopeful that they could come back for the beginning of the next season. And we used a doctor, Richard Stedman in Colorado, and we would send him out there. He was like the premier ACL reconstruction guy, and the player would go there and stay there, and we would work with their agent and have to pay for that. But he had to come back and check in with the trainers to see his progress. Some guys would be happy just to be, I'll do my surgery here in Buffalo. I want to work with the trainers. And the team had some say in what they wanted to see, how much they wanted to see the player regularly. But there wasn't an exact, okay, if you're hurt, season ending, you must stay here or you cannot go there. There was wiggle room. There was negotiation there. It's a good question.
Some of it probably depends on who you are, right? Like Von Miller, obviously, he went back home to Texas when he tore his ACL. That probably helps a little bit too, right? If you're a 12-year vet as opposed to a second-year guy. Yeah,
they're going to rehab where they want to rehab, knowing, of course, that where they're getting rehabbed and who they're going to rehab with is verifiable.
So this guy Richard Stedman, okay, the doctor out in Colorado.
Yeah.
Clearly he gets paid a pretty penny, right? Do the Bills, like, who pays for it? Is it the NFL? Is it an insurance company that the NFL or the Bills hire, or did the Bills pay for it out of pocket?
The Bills pay for it out of pocket. Now we have insurance, but it only covers a certain portion of it. And
how much does an ACL, back when you were there in 2017, 2016, 2015, how much was an ACL surgery? Any idea?
Oh, with all of it, including rehab, it was $50,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And the rehab was several $1,000s a week, but if they came back, then that was good. But
sure.
Yeah.
So $50,000 a week ballpark for just a run-of-the-mill ACL surgery with Dr. Stedman.
Yeah, I mean it was serious business, but I mean they are what you need to.
How many surgeries a year would you say? 53-man roster. Let's take the year just 2014. How many surgeries do you think the 53-man roster had in total? What's your ballpark?
I would say 12 to 15.
Okay, that's actually less than I would have expected.
Okay, well, yeah, a lot of them were groin hernia injuries that guys played through, and we're told, look, you could play through it. You're not going to necessarily do any more damage to yourself if you do that, but when the season is over, you're going to Hahnemann Hospital in Philadelphia for to get it taken care of, and it'll be a 2-month recovery, and you'll come back.
That was the groin hospital.
Yes, yeah. They called it Hahnemann, but we should have called it the hernia.
Is that where Rob Ryan thought you were visiting when you were late for your first meeting with him? The groin hospital. Sure. Yeah. All right, a couple more here before we wrap it up. Hopefully everybody has really enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe to If the Walls Could Talk in Buffalo. Yeah. It really means a lot to us. Do you remember what was like the most gruesome injury you remember, at your time, either with the team or as a director of football admin?
Ooh,
obviously Kevin Everett. I'm not talking about life-threatening. Just like what was like, oh God, I would not have wanted that.
Well, Kevin Everett is number one,
of course,
and now we're gonna go.
Yeah, not Damar Hamlin level, not Kevin Everett level, but like
okay, yeah, they're in special categories, right?
Just like oh God, like that sounds really painful.
Eric Wood broke his leg in a Theismann-esque way. When you saw it, the whole bottom cracked it away like 90 degrees that it shouldn't have done that. Yeah, that comes to mind right away.
Come back to that one. Do you remember a player ever refusing to have surgery?
Not surgery, but I remember Paul Posluszny in his first game, I think it was a road game in New England, broke his wrist in a similar way where you could see the replay and the wrist just snapped in a way that the bone shouldn't. And I heard afterwards they took him in, and he was furious that they wouldn't let him back in the game. And it turns out he, missed months, from the injury. But he really,
whose ultimate call is that to not have him go back in the game? Is it the trainer or the doctor or the head coach?
Trainer and doctor will advise the head coach, so it's their call. Yeah.
So if the doctor says you are not medically cleared, then it's like a liability issue, right? And the guy cannot, even if the head coach wanted him back in the game, the doctor could pretty much overrule the head coach. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're probably the slipperiest slope is the concussions, because
right.
There's no X-rays for that.
They're more subjective.
Exactly. Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
And then that obviously got to the NFL official and all that. But if it's a broken wrist for Paul Puzzolini and he's throwing stuff in the locker room wanting to come back in the game, but the doctor says no, it doesn't matter what Doug Marrone, Rex Ryan, what they want. It's just a hard no, right?
A hard no. Exactly. Yeah.
Because of liability and all the rest.
Sure.
Wow. That's pretty wild. Do you remember like the surgery that went really wrong?
I remember this is back when you and I were, our very first, I first started working there, and then you were still a fan, about to be on the team a few years later. But, Leonard Smith had a staph infection.
Okay.
That occurred from that. What I heard shouldn't have occurred. Something happened where that could have been avoided, and, he ended up not being able to play in Super Bowl 25. So,
yeah,
26.
I remember.
Yeah,
ended his career, right?
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah, and
who's on the hook then? Is it the team? Is it the hospital? Is it the doctor? Is it all?
Yes, and
yes. Okay, Leonard probably got a nice little settlement.
He would have gotten awarded.
Awarded. Yeah, that's a tough award though, to miss out on the rest of your career.
Yes.
It's like the Tyrod Taylor, right? When he was in with the Chargers and the doctor gave him a shot in the abdomen and missed. Remember?
When he was out for the year?
Because he hit him in the lung or whatever. Like the doctor missed. How much pressure? Obviously, the DeMar Hamlin situation happened, and everybody knows what happened there and how amazing the training staff was. Like, how much pressure do you think the doctors are in on the sideline during a game?
Oh, it's heavy. Because they're a part of the team enough that they understand that winning the game is what has to happen, and whatever tools you have, players, if they're able to play, then it's almost as egregious if they deem the player not able to play when they could have.
Yes.
Right. And in the movie Miracle,
Jack O'Callahan.
What a great scene. Yeah, when he comes in, and there's two of them actually. O'Callahan, and the doctor says, "Well, can he play?" Well, yeah. Well, should he? Well, I don't think he should play, but if he could put weight on it, and they had a huge argument, and he made the statement there. That was really realistic. Yeah.
Interesting. That's a tough position to be in, right? Like, everybody, the player, the patient, the coach, everybody wants him to play. And you might be the only thing standing between somebody and their own, best judgment.
Sure. Yeah.
In a highly emotional NFL stadium, if you're down 7 points with 4 minutes left, good luck telling Sean McDermott Josh Allen can't play.
Wow.
What a tough spot.
That's wow. That was a great
I wouldn't want that spot. I really truly wouldn't.
No. And people say, oh, doctors make a lot of money. Well, they do. They have, part of it is really tough decisions. And now it's obviously a very unique, special role when you're a physician for an NFL team and having to make the calls for the scenario you just presented. But